So how many times have you organized a meeting and all your people come in at various times during the meeting and they sit down and they're thinking about other things that they've talked about in the previous meeting or with the customer, and then about halfway through the meeting, two or three come in late. Nothing more frustrated than that. On the other hand, there's nothing more frustrating than going to a meeting where you feel you're just spinning your wheels. You go to a meeting where the organizer of the meeting does all the talking. He'll throw out a question, you start to answer the question, and before you know it, you're way off track. So here's some things to keep in mind in some of the meetings that you might be having. First of all, keep in mind that people that are attending your meeting may have been at other meetings. They may have just arrived into your office from meeting with a customer. And so take a little time to get them to clear the air. Maybe it's an introduction, or maybe it's just some type of report that you might give, or some information that you might give out, so that they have time to really focus on the meeting at hand. And then the second thing is, we all know that there are certain people in meetings that like to dominate the conversations. Let's call them big personalities. And they know everything about everything. And they're quick to tell you how it is, and they have an opinion about everything. And you know who they are, and you know that usually within a seat or two from them are those that never say anything. And sometimes we think because they're intimidated, but other times they may have some good things to say, but they never have the right opportunity. So you want to make sure that as head of the meeting, that you make sure that you handle these individuals. And there's a good way to do that. We don't want them to be quiet, but we want to just be able to direct them. So what we might do is even assign them some things ahead of time. This is what you'll talk about. And then that way they'll be able to get a lot of their energy out during that time that's allocated to them. And then you want to keep the meeting on time. There's nothing more frustrating than a meeting that's set from 1 to 2, and at 3 o'clock, you're 3/4 of the way through the agenda. That's something that will discourage people from attending meetings or coming on time. So we want to make sure that we start and finish at the time that we're done. Now, there are going to be occasions when we may need to go overtime. But wouldn't it be better if we said, look, we got about 15 more minutes of discussion. Can we all agree to stay for 15 more minutes? And then we talked about the quiet ones because they were overshadowed by those big personalities. We want to make sure that we give them an opportunity to speak. And again, what might be a good thing to do is to assign them a subject or two. That way they're prepared and they know that they're not going to have to fight with the personalities that are the more boisterous ones. So we want to get those involved. And then the other caution is, as the meeting progresses, there's a to-do list that always seems to start to develop. You might run the greatest meetings in the world, but if you get the reputation for weighing people down, giving them assignments, giving them things to do, these meetings will lose their popularity. And then helping other people's meetings to go better. Maybe you're not the head of the meeting. You're not the conductor of the meeting. What can you do to make meetings more effective? Well, you might help the other participants to regain their perspective. And here's how you might do it. You might say, I'm finding the level of detail and the information we're talking about really informative, but I'm starting to get lost in it. Is that a problem for anyone else? And then you'll be surprised the reaction that you get. You want to help that person who's leading that meeting. If they begin to lose control of the meeting, you want to be able to help them to get that control back. And here's something that you might say. As the outsider, I'm very interested to hear what you, and then point to the chairman of the meeting, have to say. What that does is it gets the attention back to him and the control. And then finally, when the meeting shows no sign of ending, what can you do? Now, you're not the chairman of the meeting, but here's something that you might do. I found this meeting really useful, but I have completely run out of time. And then watch other people as they begin to stack their papers and gather things together. So these are some things that help us to have good meetings. We have to have meetings, there's no doubt about it, but if they're productive and if we involve all participants, these meetings could really be beneficial for companies.